landlord. And this was an old, aged lady. You cannot suspect.
Okay. So what and why databases? That's the question everyone asks. What is it and why do we need it? A database is a collection of information. Okay. Doesn't sound to, it should be like a collection of data. You don't say information collection per se, but let me just say we can forgive ourselves. Are you okay for this one? Database is a collection of data, if you like, that is organized. Are you okay? So that it can easily be accessed. Okay, so the reason you're organizing the data is that you want to be able to easily access. Okay, please everyone switch off your microphone. If you want to talk, then you raise your hand. Yeah, thank you very much. So you don't collect data for collecting its sake. You collect it because you want to be able to, access it. Accessibility means that you want to find out what it is, query it. Are you okay? Query, accessibility. Are you okay? They're all in the same vein. You should be able to manage data. I keep saying that if you can't find your socks in your own house, then the problem isn't, something more like a myth. It's not a myth, or that Scooby-Doo kind of, thing where you need to do an investigation and find out why is the socks missing. The reason why you can't find your socks in your own room is because you are disorganized. Okay, so every lecture I do on databases, I have to say this, and this is not the first time I mentioned databases. In the GIS class, I introduced you to databases, and we even touched on this. A database is a collection of data, or if like information, as has been put on the board, so that it can be easily accessed, managed, and updated. Are you okay? So the whole accessibility management means deleting it, editing the data. Are you getting that? All right. Updating it means adding on to it. I think we've talked about this. Okay. Data maintenance. Assessing it could be that, okay, I'm far away from the source, the database, and so how do I get it? Okay, let me connect something to it. So that connectivity, that network kind of thing, that environment where you can access data, and how you go about it, all that should be a property and a characteristic of a database. Okay, so if you are listening to me and you are not sure of what databases are, this is where it starts from. So if you don't know this, then moving forward, you have a problem. We can have several types of databases. Are you okay? Now, the reason why databases, I think we need to talk about this. The reason why we have a lot of data, I hear a lot of noise. I want to switch off the microphones for Ernest Nyako. Let me try and mute. Yes. Okay, I think I've muted him. So indisciplined that he's just talking whilst he's joining the class. And that should stop. As you finish a BSc degree and you're thinking, I'll do my master's, you need to change your attitude. As I teach databases, I'll talk alongside things like this. This shouldn't appear in YouTube video, but it will appear. You are joining the class. Not talking. You're supposed to join this class at 10 o'clock. You are joining at this time. And then you are talking like as if you are sitting on top of the whole world. Let's check attitude. Attitude determines your altitude. How high you fly determines your attitude. Attitude has got to do with your angle of inclination. Watch it. Your attitude. Okay, so I'll continue from there. Yeah, so databases are important. We talk about in Ghana, we can talk about the problems we have in the land sector. In fact, there's a program on TV right now on TV3 that is touching on the issues that have bedeviled our country's development in terms of land management. Are you okay? Land acquisition, whatever you want to call it, land administration. People are doing masters and everything on it. And someone even said that it took 2 decades for the problem to be solved. I was sitting there, I was so angry. Why should it take 2 decades? That's 20 years. It's like, Charlie, some people will not be alive. I'm talking about 20 years on. You'll be an old man or something. I mean, seriously speaking, why can't we look at the issues and deal with them? That the benefit of having or using and harnessing databases is to solve a problem, are you okay, which is, being able to manage information. Because people just say, oh, this land is mine, and you also say it's mine, so it's information, isn't it? Oh, no, it's not yours, it's actually for this man. So that information has to be well structured and organized. Okay, so I'm just trying to touch on one aspect. What it means that there are a lot of different types of databases that you can use or that are available for us. You can use databases in all sort of areas. Yeah. So we can classify databases to bibliographic, full text, numeric, images. Even this one is not, we are talking about the domain, the area. Are you okay? We're talking about the kind of data that can be managed. Are you okay? So you can have databases that hold imagery, just imagery. There are websites where you have just pictures. Well, one of them would be Facebook, So Facebook will have a database that's keeping just pictures, because Facebook is all about your face. So if you're on Facebook and you can't see your face, I wonder. And so it's not really about typing things, but even though they've allowed you to put in some text. So databases can be classified into different types depending on what is being stored, like mainly like full text, numeric numbers, images, okay, bibliographic, etc. All right. So part of database management system, okay, databases are a part of what database management system. What do we mean by that? It means that the database management system is a software that you all have to put in our minds. So there you go. You have a database management system, and then it has tools and software parts that work together, interaction with other things, other tools. Are you okay? That allow other resources that make the system work. So the database management system, it's bigger. You can look at that at a broader level, at a higher level than the database itself, which is actually the main, the data, the way the data has been organized. So the way the data has been organized has nothing to do with, for example, the tuning of the database, which is something that you need a certain tool to tune the database. Okay. So databases are very important, and we need to simply make use of them. Database management systems are important to businesses. Why not? As for businesses, they just need the best. Every good businessman will say, I just want the best, I'll fire you. Okay. So we're not even talking about certain systems where people are like, they don't work when they go to work, but their boss is even afraid of them. I remember when I traveled to a part of Ghana, Western region, and so the people that we're working with, some of them will say, the people who work under you, you dare not, like have a certain, uncordial relationship, like with them. Try to be nice with them. Don't push them too much, otherwise they'll kill you. I mean, like, that's not what I'm talking about. In an ideal situation, businesses are supposed to work and consider time in the way that they go about their task, the whole business. And so businesses take database management systems very, very seriously, and they are very important to them because they just need to know, how much do we have, how much is left, who is that employee, you know what I'm saying, how many more do we need to hire. These help me as a business person to move on, to expand my business, and to really do more things with my business. Are you okay? If you don't have data, you don't have a good business. So every good business thrives on data. So let's say if I am into tomato selling, I need to know all sort of places where I can buy from. I need to have data on rainfall patterns, if it means anything to yield. Are you okay? So that if the Burkina tomato is not available to me, I need to have a system that I can find out, okay, this year I'm not doing Burkina tomato, I'm doing something else, Mampong tomato, which is in Ghana. And all that bounce around data information, data. So databases and database management systems are important to businesses. Multiple types of data can be stored, and that is why, for example, you can look at employee records. Are you okay? You just don't employ people and you just don't know where they are. I mean, seriously speaking, you need employee records. It's important. Student information is important. You go into a school and nobody knows that you are there. Are you okay? Your lecturer doesn't even know you're in the class. I remember there was a funny and embarrassing situation where I entered into a class and then I found two people whose faces were not familiar. So I was like, wow, where do you guys, all this while you've not been attending lectures? And someone actually drew a bird, whispered into my ears and said, these guys you are looking at, they just joined the class. They are qualified to join the class at this level. And I was like, wow, I'm so, it was quite embarrassing though. But what I'm saying is that you just need to know the objects around you and the information concerning it. And so every businesses deal with people, they deal with material and resource. So they need to know about it. Student information, like I said, in the university, for example, secondary school, we need to know every student, their age, we need to know their performance, their height, and all that. Are you okay? There's a lot you need to know, their payment information. Are you okay? Next of kin information in case there's a problem. Payroll, accounting, they need to keep track of who is getting paid which month, how much were they paid, what's the balance outstanding, and all these things. So anytime you need to do then kind of producing statements, bank statements, remember that's database. Anytime you go to the ATM and you slot in your card, remember that you are interacting with a database. Project management. How can you be a manager when you don't have information? Because after all, what is management all about? Managers don't do much. They just know how much resource available. And then they just know that they need to deploy this money, they need to request for more, they need to purchase, procure more, and that's it. And they're working out, okay, their turnover. Inventory and library books. So you see the picture on the right, obviously that is bringing our minds to a situation. So can you imagine if you were the librarian, so you're employed, yeah? Let's just imagine a situation like that. And then you were put in such a library and you were just sitting down there. Okay, there's a stairs that go down there. So that you look around you and someone came to you and they said, I'm looking for Aristotle's book on what? I don't even know what Aristotle wrote about. One of his philosophies or something like that. A book on that. What are you going to go like? You're going to go like, hold on. There's got to be something here that can help me to find out exactly where it is. Because look at it, thousands of books going all the way around and coming back to you. So yes, I visited a library and I also asked, I won't mention the name of the library, and someone was looking for a book, and it was a lady looking for a book, and the guy in the library comes to the lady and then it's like, oh, let's look for this book. Are you okay? So they're actually moving from shelf to shelf, and it's like, I saw the book here. I saw the book there. I'm like, which age are we now? Are you okay? So databases, and quickly, all of you should recognize that databases exist on computers. So the database system is a software, and the database is the main thing, is a container. So it's a concept. The whole idea of database is conceptual. Okay, which we will find out later that there are different stages of modeling a database. I think I've talked about it, but we'll talk about it again because it's important to me. Okay. So without database management, what's going to happen? Then we have manual systems. Okay, because one, you're not dealing with database, you're not dealing with software. So you're dealing with manual systems. Wow. So manual systems is where you go look for, is Mr. Osu there? Is Mr. Baja there? I mean, if there's a name like that. I mean, is Abdul Martin there? He's not there, he's traveled. Okay, so then manual system. Go and come back because he's the only one who knows where the document is. Are you okay? So manual systems have a shortcoming, and you see, you can be meticulous. You have to pray the person has integrity, the person who is managing it, and also meticulous. So integrity, meticulous, and you can't guarantee that in a human being. Okay, so computers do a better job. Okay, and that's where in the future is that we can't trust human beings. We are going to give it to, so that I want to buy a piece of land, I won't deal with any human being. I just go in there, say welcome, what can I want to a land to buy at Adenta. Then the sister will tell there's no land available. Do you want to try? You know, like I'm dealing with a computer, not a human being, because a human being will say, call me in the house. Are you okay? Call me in the evening. Then the whole thing starts. So something that costs so much, sold for that amount, I mean, people are killed. Problems. So manual systems have a challenge. There's a disadvantage. Time. Then again, anything that's a computer-based system saves you time. Anything that's computer-based system saves you time. Why? Because once it's a computer-based system, it's an electronic system, and the electrons move at a speed that is, you know, not comparable to even like the speed of light. So which means that when I press a button here, I can get something sent quickly to Tamale faster than I can get light to travel that far. So you can double check on this. So time, a lot of time is saved when we make use of databases, because without databases, then we have a problem. We have to then find physical ways. You need to be there. You need to be looking at it and thinking through it. But database management systems can also help you to query the data. Are you okay? So that if I'm looking for something, you know, you won't just be going. People even get bored with manual systems. Are you okay? Looking for your passport. You know, your passport has arrived. Even the way it's arranged, the person goes in 1 hour, he's not back. So when he comes back, you are forced to give the person 50 cedis, isn't it? Because it's taking him so long. And only God knows if it really took him that time or he was just playing up a game with you. So we need this password to concurrent use. So what is password? If a password wouldn't mean anything to someone who is born in the 17th century or the 18th century, are you okay? We are in the 19th century. Are you okay? 20th century, if you like. Yeah. So the year 2000 coming up, they can relate to password. Are you okay? The millennials, people who were born after 2000, they are called the millennials. They can relate to password, but because in their time they were born straight away using tablets. Are you okay? Started playing with tablets and then phones, so they appreciate that the phone is locked and it needs to be unlocked. So there's a password that mommy or daddy needs to provide, without which they cannot play their favorite game. So they get it straight away. They get the idea of password. And so what is that? We're talking about security here, isn't it? So how can we, you know, provide security as in who can access a record? Okay, so with manual systems, whoever can break into the building has access to the information. They can just walk in and start reading, okay, and getting to know, oh, okay, so this is it, right? So this is how Ghana system is. Okay, so if you want to break it, this is how we go about it. But with digital systems, then you can actually put what we call a password. Are you okay? And usually you can put what we call a strong password, and some passwords can be really, really weird. So it's made up of characters. Are you okay? Like what I'm putting on the board right now, numbers. Then you can combine some, you know, alphabets. So the person is supposed to guess this. Can you guess this? You know, people also write programs to hack into the systems and all that. So there's an issue of security. Are you okay? Getting access to it. Concurrent use is also very important. I want to talk about concurrent use. The thing about database is that you can have millions of people accessing the same database. Okay, so when you have data, then in a manual system, only one person who is holding it, okay, can look at it. Okay, I see that. That's your date of birth. I see it on your birth certificate. It's looking good. Okay, now you give it to me so that I can look at it. Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Okay, how can we get people in Tamale to have a look at it? Okay, you make copies for them. Okay, so now it is copied and sent via trotro or bus to Tamale or to wherever. Then that's a manual system. So you see the struggle, the tedium. Okay, you don't. It's not easy to access it, and also you can't have two people looking at it at the same time unless you have different copies of it. And what if the two copies are not of the same type? They've been updated. Are you okay? Then what do you do? So concurrent use, passwords are things that are important, okay, to look at. Okay, so that is that on why we need database. Let me see if I can add more to it. A simple database. Okay, I touched on examples. We can look at examples of databases, but I hope I touch on it again. But you can talk about MySQL database. I'll touch on it again, but let me just talk about. If it comes up again, I'll brush over it. But let me talk about it, just in case I forget. So you can look at MySQL. So it's pronounced MySQL, but you write it MySQL. Okay, but you don't say MySQL, you say MySQL. So that people won't laugh at you when you go somewhere. Anyways, you can have MS SQL, structured query language. That's SQL. SQL stands for structured query language. Okay, you can have Oracle. Okay, so Microsoft is a company. So MS is for Microsoft. Microsoft SQL is the same as MS SQL. MS SQL. All right. So, but MySQL is MySQL. Okay, which is really free. It's open source if you like, but I'm sure some company can buy open source software. Sometimes can be bought, and then it will no longer be under the free license. Okay. So when I say a license, I mean a license to drive, a license to use. Okay, use license. So you can have some an Oracle. Oracle also have their own database. You can have Oracle Spatial. Now, let me talk about Oracle Spatial. Oracle Spatial has spatial capabilities. So not all databases have spatial capabilities. Some databases have spatial capabilities. That way they can store objects, okay, like lines, points, and polygons. But others too don't have that capability. All right. So you can have PostgreSQL. So PostgreSQL or SQL, PostgreSQL, okay, I keep saying SQL, SQL, PostgreSQL, SQL also allows you, it's a free software, allows you to manage your database. It's okay. This one is a special type. It has the capability of storing points, lines, and polygons. So instead of you using shape files, which some of you still probably haven't caught it yet, the whole idea of shape files. Shape files are the files that you pull into ArcGIS or in QGIS, and then you see the lines being drawn. Now you can actually pull it from a database and then it will start drawing it, but everything that is being drawn is actually stored in a database, not in the file. So there's a difference between the file system and the database system. All right, great. So these are typical examples. PostgreSQL is free. It's all right. It's free. You don't have to pay anything for it. Great. So YDBS, a simple database, has a single table with rows for the data and columns. Okay, so very simple. Databases are nothing more. People, I think sometimes we complicate our lives. Databases are just rows and columns of data. Rows, columns. So as you start with that, then you can now move on. Okay, start with something like Excel. Are you okay? It's just a typical example of, you know, a database. The basic one is Excel. Are you okay? Which we are calling a flat file database. I think we touched on that before in GIS, basic introduction to it. So all you do is to have, you know, a serial number or something like that. Then so serial number, then you have name or item. I don't know. Yeah, serial number, item goes together. Okay, then you start putting in 1, 2, and then you can now do a whole lot of items. Are you okay? A, B, C, D, all the way down. So this is a database, a simple one. Are you okay? Which contains items, and you can have more of, you know, more columns. But then you can now call this one like item 2, item 3. I get that. So we do have an idea what databases are. We do have an idea what databases are, but we just, when we talk about databases, and people now start thinking differently. But this is a database right there. Are you okay? You can decide to now like change the values in here by way of updating it. Are you okay? I just populated it. Are you okay? Etc. So randomly, I can just change it, and then it will look different. Okay, now these are called records. Everything going in this direction, left to right, on this row. So this is a row or a record. So we will later on find out records. The word record is used, okay, in a certain balance or domain, and then row is used in another. Are you okay? But for now, simple database will consist of what? Rows and then columns. So this is a row, this is a column, this is a row, and this is a column. Is that okay? All right. So to find a particular value, then we need to know the column and then of course the row. So the rows are uniquely identified by a special column, which we called primary key. All right, so I'm not really talking about design yet, but I want you to appreciate the fact that databases are nothing more, or the simplest form is what? The rows and columns that are intersecting. Are you okay? And then you have your database. So it's nothing beyond us. When you talk about database, we know it, we've been using it, but we don't even know that we are using databases. So rows and columns, they meet based on the criteria, and then now you have some results. Are you okay? So you can actually query and query a database. You can search for something within the database. You can say, I want to look at something in this column with this value. Then you will get it. Are you okay? So rows and columns meet. Then queries based on the criteria, then you get results. Are you okay? Relational databases use multiple tables. Now this one, I think we talked about it. We're talking about it again. And so take note of it. It means it's important to us. That's why we'll talk about databases, and then we'll come and talk about databases again because it's important to us. Okay, guys, we have 1 minute. 1 minute. When it ends, let's use the same link and then let's continue from where we left off. Yep. So as I go, I know I do go fast. If you have a question, you can raise your hand. There's a button that you click. I'll stop and I'll answer your question. But don't just unmute yourself and start talking. All right. God willing, next week we'll have a face-to-face. This one we had to put it in because of my COVID vaccination that I did. Okay. So I wasn't feeling very well yesterday, but it's gone. So those who are afraid to take it, when you take it after 24 hours, you start feeling some way. But I'm sure because it's going into your system,